I'm Sariah,
And I'm Julianna, and this is the Fair Labor Standards Act paving the way to a strong economy. How was work today, sweetheart?
Oh, great, Grandma Rose. It was okay, but I don't get paid nearly enough. What am I supposed to do when I graduate this year and have to pay for college?
Oh, I wouldn't worry too much about that now. You're making more money than I did in a whole year.
Well, I wouldn't call working conditions back in your day ideal either. Besides, minimum wage today is $7.25 national. It doesn't feel like we're getting enough to support ourselves.
I know it may not seem like it, but the Fair Labor Standards Act has come a long way. We couldn't have that $7.25 minimum wage if we didn't have the $3.35 minimum wage. We couldn't have that if we didn't have the 25-cent minimum wage established when the Fair Labor Standards Act was passed. The Fair Labor Standards Act is one of the biggest frontiers in history because it has helped millions and hundreds of millions of people throughout the years. It is the reason why we have such a strong economy today. And lucky for you, I was alive to see it passed. When I was 17, I got my first job at the Triangle Waste Factory.
Hello, my name is Rose Cohen. I'm a 17-year-old girl who lives in New York City. Today's the first day I go to work at my new job. I have found work here at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. I myself am looking for money, as I only had a slice of breakfast. My father told me to wait promptly until 7 o'clock a.m. so that the boss wouldn't think I can come in any sooner, and again to leave promptly at 7 o'clock p.m., which is when my work hours are from. Well, the time being 7. Wish me luck, because here I go.
Name?
Rose Cohen. I'm new.
Follow me.
How are you today, sir?
Don't ask questions. It distracts you and others from working. Here's your desk. Here's your fabric. Now get to work.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone looked miserable. People's faces were sad, bent, and stricken with stress. As I worked, he continued to observe me. My hands were shaking because of the nerves. I was so close to the people next to me that I could feel the heat of their arms on mine. People kept glaring at me, but I understand now that it's because the competition for this job was so fierce. My body ached and my chair lacked back support. My body screamed at me to stop, but I couldn't, as I needed the money.
Here you go, sir. Acceptable. You'll need to be faster next time, though.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I knew this other girl named Susie. She had only gotten there a month before me. Susie had moved to New York because of her talent in sewing. She lived 2 miles from the factory, and since that was close enough, I often saw her walking there. I noticed she soon became laden with stress and her health began to decline. On the floor where we worked, there was no ventilation, and the cramped room only made it worse for her. Susie died a year and 3 months after she began working at the Triangle Waste Factory due to the heavy work burden and labor.
My name is Cora. I was a boarder with Susie, and I always thought of her as a little sister to me. I was crushed when she died, but deep down I knew it was coming. She was much too young, and the work was far too difficult. I worked on a level with more experienced workers. We earned $6 a week, and we were there from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., with only 1 half-hour break for lunch. There was only 1 row desk in the sunlight, and the rest of them were dimly lit and gloomy. Too many shops kept the girls working all night. The bosses were rude, and they treated the girls like slaves. Tomorrow's the end of the week, which means we will get paid. I just pray this time will be better.
Next, name.
Clara Lemouche.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure, it should be 6.
It's the beginning of slow season. Means everyone's salary is cut by $2. You should know this by now, and if you'd like to complain any more, I can cut more off.
No, sir. Thank you, sir.
Next, name.
Rose Cohen.
1, 2, 3.
Sir,
Did you not hear what I just told her? No complaining. You broke a needle on Tuesday, and I saw you waste a perfectly good piece of fabric that could have been used.
But sir, this is not enough.
You know the rules. Next.
Unfortunately, we never got paid what they said we would.
Great-Grandma Rose, what happens after that?
Well, 2 months later, I met your great-grandfather, and 4 months after that, we got married. Soon, I became pregnant with your grandmother, and one day, while I was home taking care of her, I sat down to read the Washington Herald. March 26, 1911. 142 died when Triangle Shirtwaist Factory burns?
Girl employees leak to death from windows. New York, March 25th. Long rows of coffin dead lined the shredded morgue pier. Last so used at the time of the Slocum disaster, marked the work of a factory fire in the ash building on Green Street and Washington Place. There were 133 of the coffin dead at 11 o'clock, and more were coming in. Chief Croker estimated the dead at that time 150, but only 142 were recovered. The dead were shirtwaist makers, mostly women and girls employed by the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, of which Max Blanc and Isaac Harris were proprietors. The 10-story building had 1,500 machines on 3 of the floors and 1 fire escape.
And even worse, factory owners Harris and Blanc got away with minimum fines.
This fire was the most deadly factory fire, but unfortunately, there were others. This is Frances Perkins. She was the first woman in the U.S. cabinet. She was Secretary of Labor from 1933 to 1945. She originally drafted the Fair Labor Standards Act. Her proposal for employers to adopt a 54-hour work week met fierce resistance, but she kept trying, and it was later sponsored by Senator Hugo Black.
Hello, my name is Frances Perkins. I first became aware of this issue of terrible working conditions while completing an assignment in college. I soon became invested in what I could do to help solve this issue. I made my first proposal of a 54-hour work week, but the bill failed. This happened to be the same year that the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire occurred, and I would not stand for it. It is critical that we get safer working conditions and fair pay. I will not rest until I get this bill passed.
This act is too controversial. We want to be an economic powerhouse, correct? This will take way too much money and work away from businesses.
Many of these businesses aren't even using this money to build their own businesses, but for their own vain pursuits. If we want to build an economic powerhouse, we should be focusing on how we can help the entire workforce grow, not just the upper community who is ruining these people's lives.
This is unconstitutional. Congress does not have the right to regulate businesses. These are our businesses, and we get to choose how to run them. If employees aren't working hard enough, they do not deserve that money.
We're missing the point. For example, look at the working mothers. These mothers don't want to bring their children in for child labor. For example, look at the vegetable cannery in Audubon, New York. These mothers have no choice but to bring their children in because they need the extra money. This need will never cease until employers pay decent wages. There ought to be a law ensuring minimum pay as well as one limiting hours worked. People should also have at least decent work environments. If the Industrial Commission does not have the right to make essential safety laws, they might as well close up shop.
What about the small businesses? How are small businesses supposed to pay minimum wage if they're barely keeping afloat? Businesses will pay what they can pay, and Congress absolutely does not have the right to tell us what that payment is.
I understand what you're saying, Senator, but I agree with Secretary Perkins. These laws are essential. Let's send this bill to the House of Representatives. And the bill ended up passing. The House debate on the bill lasted 2 days, May 24th to May 25th. The House debate on the bill passed with a 314 to 97 margin.
Hello, I'm the Fair Labor Standards Act, also known as the FLSA. I established minimum wage, overtime pay, and youth employment standards affecting employees in private sector and in federal, state, and local governments. I also created an 8-hour workday and 40-hour work week to make sure employees aren't overworked.
It says here that 43% of people in Ohio ignore part or all of the Fair Labor Standards Act. Like I said, Congress cannot regulate the employment conditions of every single business in America.
Maybe we won't be able to catch every business. We have certainly improved the lives of many workers, and we will continue fighting for the workers' rights.
And of course, we didn't stop there. After all, the Fair Labor Standards Act only established a minimum wage of 25 cents. The next year, it was raised to 30 cents an hour. And in 1945, it was raised to 40 cents an hour. Every few years, the minimum wage was raised and the Fair Labor Standards Act was amended. And while $7.25 is an incredible minimum wage, at least there is a minimum wage.